Ladies, thank you for waiting patiently. We do have a treat for you in the back, lemon bars and fresh fruit and ice cold lemonade. So if you want to grab your little treat and bring it back to the table, we're going to get started soon, so Grace will have plenty of time to share. So the dessert table is open. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank our St. James staff, our AV team, Dee Cheadle in the back, and Tyrone Yarborough, our director of worship, who made sure that we were able to live stream on all of our different venues. So those at home, we are so happy that you are joining us. And we're going to go ahead and you continue to eat and have your lemon bars and lemonade. You can tell I like lemon. And so we're so grateful today. As you know, on your tables and at home, many of you received the Response magazine that is put out, stories, information, education for us to know about what we're doing all around the world, the lives that we impact in our social justice, where we are making changes. And so I just want to read from one of our Response magazines that features our speaker today. That was the September and October 2022. And it's talking about the voices of our workers. And our own regional missionary, Grace Musaka, about how to challenge the climate change fall heaviness on women and children, such as extreme heat, flooding, and drought during the assembly in 2022. Grace, United Women in Faith, regional missionary based in Zimbabwe, will share information and highlights about her story. One of the things and the reason that we're here is that we always look forward to an opportunity where we can support our regional missionaries and their work. If Dee has our slide that has our information around giving, we will put up our giving. So if you're at home, you may take your Android or your iPhone and scan the QR code in ways of giving. And also we have Carolyn Celestine, who is the treasurer for our unit, that has a plate that she will be passing around in regards to if you would like to make a donation. If you write a check, it's made payable to United Women in Faith. And if you put in the memo section, Grace Musaka, and the number is R30192G. And then we would make sure that those funds go to the work that she is doing. If you have cash, we will collect that and make sure that is given to our national office representative, who we have here, Christy Campos, and we'll make sure that information is giving back. On the screen, it gives you different ways that you are able to give. Carolyn, as you continue to walk around with the tray, I'm going to move forward because we want to give our speaker plenty of time to share. Once again, Grace's number that identifies her as our regional missionary is R30192G. So if you are mailing that into the national office, make sure you put on your envelope that it is for regional missionary Grace Musaka, and with that number, it identifies the work. This offering will go to help her continue the impact that she is not only making in Zimbabwe, but also, if you read her bio and you hear it, she worked in Cameroon for many, many years and providing resources and insight and uplifting young girls and women for them to have a better life and them to be able to be empowered so that they can go forth and continue to make a difference in the world. So with that being said, I would like to let you know, in the Response magazine, there's different sections. There's prayers, there's listening, and so one of the listenings that come from, with Grace, sustainable gathering. The United Women in Faith gather as it did at the assembly in May 2022 in Orlando, Florida. It does its best to imply its 13 steps of sustainable, accessible, affordable carbon footprint, healthy food and beverage, just economic opportunities, social solidarity, multi-generational inclusion, paper use, racial justice, toxin reduction, waste reduction, water use, and well-being participants. The information that's in the Response magazine, insightful and informative. And so before we have our speaker, I've asked Carolyn Celestine, who serves as our treasurer for our unit, but also has served at the district and the jurisdictional level as treasurer, to share a little more about our Response magazine listening session. Carolyn?
Listen. Status of women. For many years, United Methodist Women has been a part of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, bringing in an international delegation to take part in UN programs and discussions and hosting side events at our Church Center for the United Nations, right across the street from UN headquarters in New York City. The Commission on the Status of Women, as described by the UN, is the principal global intergovernmental body exclusively dedicated to the promotion of gender equality and the empowerment of women. The well-being of women encompasses many issues, including United Methodist Women priorities of climate justice, maternal and child health, criminalization of communities of color and mass incarceration, and economic inequality. Our work is intersectional from a local to global level, and having faith-based women's voices present in as many places as possible is key to ensuring God's abundance is available to all. Listen. In God's own image, God created humanity in God's own image. In the divine image, God created them. Male and female, God created them. Read Genesis 1:27. Though imagining God as anything but male is still considered controversial. In this section, the Reverend Lee Goodrich shares how expanding the language we use for God helps expand the ways we understand God and ourselves. Words matter. Presenting God as male and only male elevates maleness above all other states of being. When we know God has created love to exist in many forms, not all of us are blessed to associate a father figure with love, or even a mother figure with love for that matter. Though we are created in God's image, limiting the image we have for God to only human models is a disservice to all as we explore the ways we reflect God and how God is present in our lives. Allow yourself to take God out of the box and exist in ways you hadn't imagined. Then let your language for God follow.
Thank you, Carolyn. And when we were contacted by Christy to invite our regional missionary, we were so delighted. And so this comes under our social action work that we do around, not only in your local unit, but in your conference, jurisdiction, and nationally. So I have asked our social action chair, Fairlyn Coates, to introduce our speaker of the hour. Amen, Fairlyn?
Grace Masaka. I have all these words written here, but I'm going to start by saying I had a chance to meet and talk with her before this meeting because I was here early and she was here early. And what I found was a warm and sweet and kind person. And even though all of these words are here and I'm going to share some of them with you, I thought that was more important. Okay. Grace Masaka engaged in leadership training for the women of the Cameroon. The program's objective was to empower women as peace builders, healers, economic developers in their community, as leaders in their church. She began as a member of the United Methodist Church in Harare. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She holds a certificate of teaching, a Bachelor's of Arts degree in home economics and biology from Drury University in Springfield, Missouri. She began a professional career as a primary teacher. She joined the staff of the United Methodist Church in Zimbabwe as a woman's worker and coordinator in 1998. So she's been working with the United Methodist Church and women for quite a while, though she doesn't look like it. Grace says that her faith journey was shaped by her family, by prayer, by quiet time, reciting and memorizing Bible verses and reading the Bible, and participating in community work. That is a United Methodist woman. One of the dreams has realized is that she was able to study in the state of Missouri. And I read this through, and so I feel like we're kind of kindred spirits because I'm a home economics teacher too. Her and her husband have 2 children, and I found out in our conversation that she will be visiting one shortly after finishing here. Grace is committed to helping people to grow through their experience with Christ. And that says everything about her. So I give you Grace Masaka.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, thank you so much for coming to this event, and I have learned so much just by you being here and the way you have welcomed me so warmly, and for Christy to drive me all the way from Emporia to this place so that we could share. I really like that. Now, I think I should start by telling you a little bit of my ancestry, what I think made me to become a missionary. On my father's side, his grandfather who is my great-grandfather, was a chief in his village. So when people, even missionaries, when they came to that area, they would go to the chief's place to find out if they could be accepted in their area. So when these missionaries came, thank you. When the missionaries came, they went to my great-grandfather's homestead and find out whether they could be allowed to spread Christianity in his, with his people, the people who were under his charge. So he said yes, because he thought that it was good for his family and the people in his village to learn something about Christianity. In that case, I think I got a bit out of that made me become a missionary. On my mother's side, they lived about 30 kilometers from a mission, 30 miles from a mission called Nyadiri Mission. So when missionaries came to that place, when they established the mission station, my grandfather thought it was good for him to go to that mission station and take all his family to get some education. So they walked 30 miles to Nyadiri Mission, and he was asked, "How are you going to pay for your education?" And he said, "Well, I can do some evangelism." So that's how he managed to pay for his education. He went up to something like the 7th grade, and he qualified to be a school head after the 7th grade. His wife had no formal education, who is my grandmother, my mother's mother. And she was taught various chores, how to do gardening, how to do housewifery, how to clean the house, how to keep some chickens, how to do various, chores. She was taught those different skills, including how to read the Bible. So when my grandfather went around the community evangelizing, he would carry her on his bicycle. They would cycle together to those different places, first of all to evangelize, and for my grandmother to teach the women those various skills. I can see that I am doing that right now, teaching other women various skills. And through the church, I was educated at Drury University and United, they were women's division then. Then they became United Methodist Women, and now we are United Women in Faith. They are the ones who gave me the highest support to go to Drury University. So you can see my connection with United Women in Faith. As for my mother, she did all her education at Nyadiri Mission, which is a United Methodist institution. She did the education, and then her training as a nurse, and then up to her training as a midwife at that institution. Now, since United Methodist Institution was a favorite for both my paternal and my maternal ancestry, we are 6 girls in my family. All of us went to United Methodist institutions. So you can see from that brought me that kind of ancestry, ensured that I became a regional missionary. Now we go on to the slides. We go on to the next slide. Okay, I cannot see from here, but I will open my laptop so that I will be able to read. Now the first one is, you can see, I don't know whether you can see. You can see over there. Okay, it's women, leadership and change. It's about us women and the leadership that is in the church and also in the country, and how it has changed from time to time. Our objectives, just in case I may miss something as I share, are as follows: greater understanding of United Women in Faith, international work, and its impact. Now, us who are in the central conferences are referred to people who are in the international area. Now, United Women in Faith, what do you know about United Women in Faith? Is there something you know about United Women in Faith, international work, international ministry? Just one thing. Can someone respond? Just tell me one thing that United Women in Faith do. Yes. Education. Yes, support education at primary level, that is elementary level, needy children, at high school level, some needy children, and also at university level. I'm sure most of you have heard or have seen somebody either in this country or internationally who was or who is being educated by United Women in Faith. Now, there are some areas that I would like to skip because I know you know all about that. Women's Foreign Mission Society came from here, so I know you already know about that. Those two ladies who were sent to India, I'm glad you talked about listening. That section in the Response magazine, United Women in Faith, listen. For these two women, they listened to the needs of the Indian women, that they needed a doctor, they needed a teacher to be able to be taught formally, and also to be able to improve their health, and also to be able to give birth. I was sharing with another group that even in my country, some of us are not very comfortable to have male doctors as the ones who help us, give birth. They would rather have a woman do that. And United Women in Faith in my country have participated in that as well, when they trained elderly women on helping women in the village to give birth. So in that case, they listened. Just like you say, we listen to the needs of the different communities, the needs of different people or in different parts of the world. So that is that part where we say, United Women in Faith, listen. There was a great listening session that was held in Mozambique for the African church women leadership. There in Mozambique, all the African United Methodist women leaders were called to actually share with United Women in Faith on how we would like our programs to go, because they just didn't want to send money and not knowing exactly what the monies was going to be used for. At the same time, not knowing whether the money addressed what the women really needed to be addressed. So this sharing took place in Mozambique in 2017. And in 2018, a similar sharing took place in Asia. And after that, in 2018, just before the assembly, a few women were called back to New York after we had consulted with women in our countries to ensure that whatever programs we came up with were relevant to the needs of the women in the various areas. So that's when that mapped up the international women's work today. If we may go to the next slide. Yes, that is leadership development. United Women in Faith said we need to have leaders trained, leaders developed. We need women who have developed self-esteem, women who are confident when they're talking, when they're doing whatever they're doing, enhancing the capacities of local women leaders through skills development, economic development. We need to ensure that women can be able to do something by themselves, for themselves, and for their family. Offerings, they asked if they could be offered small seed grants to support viable businesses and income-generating activities created by women. So the work today, if you can go to the next slide, the work today includes capacity building of local United Methodist women groups. Most of us still call it United Methodist Women, but some have moved on to United Women in Faith. Economic empowerment by giving small grants, like I mentioned before, to ensure that we grow those grants and be able to do various activities with it. Skills building. Now, when we are given those grants, we would like to have a skill so that we'll be able to continue doing or using that money, the profits that we have, so that we'll be able to have some profit in order to continue looking after our children. And those grants can be used for scholarships, can be used for elementary and high school education. So in that case, we will be assisted in educating our families. Now, how are we doing that? Country teams were formed. Now, in those countries that are listed there, in Mozambique, Sierra Leone, and Democratic Republic of Congo, those are the 3 countries where the first country teams were formed. I served in the Democratic Republic of Congo when the first country teams were formed. Finda Kwiwa and Elmira Selu served in Sierra Leone. Actually, Finda Cleaver worked with the young people in Mozambique, in Sierra Leone, and Democratic Republic of Congo. In Mozambique, with Catherine Akale as regional missionary, as the team leader for that. Now, as time went on, as it 2021, a team in Liberia was formed, which was led by Finda Cleaver. In Zimbabwe, 2021, and mostly 2022, a team was formed, which I am leading. Now, what do these country teams do? The country teams coordinate the in-country work. We assess and prioritize the needs of the women. We also mobilize other women. And the composition of the country teams is regional missionary, who is the team leader, women's desk coordinator of the United Methodist Church. You may want to know that the women's coordinator coordinates all the work of the women in that particular conference, all the work of the young women, the youth, and children. So in order for it to be a strong team, we needed the United Women's Work coordinator so that she can be part of that, because she is knowledgeable about all the different areas of work of the church in that particular country. 2 youth or 2 young adult representatives. Now, we don't want to leave the young people behind. I was sharing also with another group that sometimes if we give all the money to the women, they will do projects only for the women and we will leave the youth behind. So the 2 youths in this country team ensure that we do something for the youth. Actually, when we actually do the work, it's 50% elderly women like us, and the other 50% for the younger women. So that way, we try to make sure that we balance the people who receive the assistance. We do have a local reporter. I had a video of the local reporter who was trained by United Women in Faith for her degree. She was also, she also trained to be a deaconess, and she hopes to be commissioned at General Conference, that is if she gets a visa, but if she doesn't, at Central Conference, she will be commissioned at that particular time. So that's the composition of the country teams. The local reporter writes stories. Whatever stories we send to United Women in Faith is either my report or her report, as she follows up the recipients of the grants that are given by United Women in Faith. And she does that. She writes 2 or 3 reports per quarter, but at the end of each quarter, for the 4 quarters of the year, we send a report to United Women in Faith about about our work, what we do. If we may go to the next slide. Now, those are the regional missionaries in Africa. First of all, we have Finda Cleaver. Like I said, she's the one responsible for Liberia, and Grace Msuka, I'm sure you can see me there. And we have Frida Mweba, who is now the regional missionary for the Democratic Republic of Congo. I handed over to her in November of 2022. I went over there and did take over. Then we have Elmira Selo, who is regional missionary for Sierra Leone. We have 3 more regional missionaries. One, Emma Kanto, who is regional missionary for Asia, and Hikari Cheng for Japan, and Andrea for South America. I'm sure you can still see that Andrea and Emma still have vast areas where they work. But through this type of work, training for transformation, we concentrate in one country and do less in other countries. That is to ensure that whatever we do has impact in that particular country. For after maybe 2 years, we move to another country and concentrate more, but we don't forget the other countries whom we would have done work with. We continue working with them. We feel that after spending more time in one country, the women in that particular country will be able to do the kind of work by themselves with little leadership or with little supervision from the regional missionary. Training for transformation, like I have said, is a training methodology which enable people to become self-reliant, do social analysis to help them find the root causes of their problems. It provides skills for working with communities to identify real fundamental needs in responding to poverty. This kind of training, if I can explain further, is where we go into a community, share with the women and young women. They give us, or they share, they tell everybody what they would like to be assisted in. After writing down everything that they would prefer to be done, we rank their needs, and whatever has the highest points, then we can apply for funding. That is very important because that kind of work enables us to cover the areas that they choose, that they need, that will help them to own the program or the project. Unlike, just going to them and saying that, oh, we are going to give you seeds to grow, to do farming. Some of them may not even be interested in farming. So we find out what they are actually interested in, and then we pursue that channel. That is the team in Zimbabwe. I don't know whether it's close enough for you to locate me. If you look, is it what? For you is from right? Is it from your right to left? And the next person who is leaning on the other person. So that is our country team. That was taken while we were being trained for transformation. And that is part of the training, where we were put in groups to discuss and talk about various ways how we can become a team, how we can improve ourselves as team members. As you may know, we all come from different families. We all have, different strengths and weaknesses. So when we work as a team, when we are trained in teamwork, we improve ourselves so that each one can bring their strength, and whoever is weak can be raised to a position where she is in a position to be able to to help others. And we talked about the exercise, the work of my hand. It says I have to know myself, to understand my needs, to grow me. Now, before I grow, first of all, I have to know what my shortcomings, what my strengths are. And it is very important because I cannot grow others. I cannot improve other people's skills or make them better before I know myself. So we found out that that is very, very, very important. Now, who are these women whom we serve? Now, the women we target are those women with high rates of illiteracy. Women hold a large percentage for those who live in poor conditions. They have limited economic prospects. Women compromise the bulk of the unskilled workforce. Harmful traditional practices against women, they've experienced that. That is against women and girls. I'm sure you've heard of FGM and early marriages and teenage pregnancies and some other vices that always fall on women, especially when their economic situation is limited. High rates of gender-based violence, rape, domestic violence, all that are the vices that we find in the areas that we work. Now, I would like to share a case study about Anna. Remind me to share it after I have shown a few more slides. If I forget, just make sure that you remind me. Leadership development, we have talked about that through leadership development, the United Women in Faith, through the regional missionaries and these teams, identify and build awareness of issues that put women at a disadvantage. Then we try to address those issues in order to improve the situation of women. Women begin to gain skills that promote empowerment. After they are identified and after they are addressed, then they begin to do better to improve on their lives. Women empowerment. Empowering women is to give women the equal right to participate in all aspects in society. It is boosting their self-esteem, accepting their viewpoints, educating them, and ultimately equipping them to make life-determining decisions. Now, if somebody is in an impoverished situation, it is very difficult for them to be confident in whatever they should be doing. And even in taking positions in the church, in taking leadership positions in the country, they'll say, oh, why don't you ask so-and-so? Why don't you ask the next person? Because they may not be that confident themselves. So that's what United Women in Faith would like to address, to ensure that the women that we work with have a better life. And leadership development, building women leaders, like I said before, partnering with local United Methodist women to provide education, awareness, raising skills, training programs, and so forth. Women gain essential skills, develop critical and strategic thinking, building self-confidence. Women have greater choices, increase access to and control over resources. women have greater ability to make their own decision, like I said before, set their own lifelong priorities. Partnership and collaboration. Now, the work United Women in Faith do in Africa, especially in the region that I am assigned, is to partner with the women. And that partnership is through regional missionaries. We are in a position to send reports, to ask for funds, and to ensure that the funds are being used profitably. And also women's work coordinators are in a position to work with women, children, and young people. And as a team, now we put all our knowledge together. In that case, we are in a position to come up with viable programs and projects. Now, the benefits of partnering, I think I've shared something similar to that already. And on economic development, the importance for economic development when we look at Zimbabwe is we look at what is negative in that particular country. It is a landlocked country in Southern Africa. The population is about 14.5 million, 90% unemployment rate, about 10% of the population are those people who go to work and get a paycheck every month. The rest do other things where they are not very sure that whether they'll get $10 to this month, $100 that month, $500 that, which means that it's not that stable. Even though they do something for their families, it's not quite stable. People need a stable income. That's why United Women in Faith decided to do something to find out exactly what people in particular areas needed. And 1/4 of the population fled to South Africa or Botswana in search of greener pastures. You may know that so many universities have been established in Zimbabwe, but when the kids graduate, when the young people graduate, there are no jobs. They may find themselves doing other things which may not be their expertise, but they just want to make sure that they get something for a living. So this training for transformation has really helped us to help women and girls to be able to do something. In 2022, we held a listening program where we listened to the women. There were about more than 100 women, and then we called them for training. When we said we will give chicks to everyone who comes for training, because it didn't make sense to give chicks to somebody who was not trained. So 88 women came for training, and they were given some chicks and feed. As you can see, I'm sure you can see it. It's the next one. The next slide. The next slide. Yes. As you can see in that slide, women, each woman got their 25 chicks and some feed for those chicks. They were trained on how to look after the chicks, how to look for diseases, what kind of medicine they could give them, the chicks, and even some traditional herbs. Those who knew of that shared on what kind of herbs they could be given. So Here you can see the women also receiving their chicks to ensure that they will look after them. And there is a woman, I think there is a photograph there with chicks that are big, and you can see from her face, it's a different kind of experience for her that she was enabled to have chicks, that experience of raising chickens. You can see a young girl there. There were 88, and 50% were young, and another 50% were old, amongst the 88 people who were given chicks. Some other income generation projects. Let's go to yes. You can see there, I also participate in the income generation and small garden, grow zucchini in my garden, and you can see that woman at the top is looking at a bunch of bananas. We trained them in growing fruit trees. First of all, we had to find out the region where they come from. In some regions, the country is rated from region 1 up to region 5. In region 5, not much grows there. You can keep cattle there, it's okay as long as you have water. But for fruit trees, region 1, region 2, region 3, and a bit of region 4, you can grow fruit trees. And then you can see at the bottom, you've gone to the next slide. Go to the slide before that, and yes, that another one before that. Yes, right at the bottom there is a program in Zambia where they did organic farming. The funds were provided by United Women in Faith. They were trained in organic farming, and then you can see that woman there is growing cassava. They don't use any artificial fertilizer, any artificial insecticides. They grow that cassava, they use the leaves for their food, and they also use the tuber for their meal, for their mealing. Like something like grits they make out of that. Let's go to the next slide. Some more organic farming. You can see mangoes that are grown organically, and vegetables that are grown organically. Let's go on to the next slide. There you can see in Mozambique, it's a chicken farming in Mozambique, and girls getting certificates after they have done a sewing project. The next slide, you can see the first one, soap making in Mozambique, organic farming for vegetables, soap farming in Congo, organic farming in Congo, and also sewing in Congo, a sewing project in Congo. When I asked them where they got the sewing machines, they said, oh, we got them from women in America. And I'm sure it's United Women in Faith who provided those sewing machines. Now, they can do anything they can choose anything that they would like to be trained in. That girl was trained in doing makeup, in beautifying women, in the sense of, you can see one is beautiful eyelashes, one is beautiful lipstick. That's the way she earns her living, because she was taught that was what she needed. You have already seen that. And that is in Ecuador, in South America, where they grow that. That is in Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, in August of last year, women were, the school, primary school with 1,000 kids, were given a bread making machine. Now that bread making machine makes 60 loaves at a time. So it can feed the children, but at the same time, there is leftover bread which they can sell to make money, and they can ensure that their empowerment program is done. That is the bread baking machine. Now, if I may go straight and tell you the story of Anna. Anna was one of the ladies, 62 years old last year, who received 25 chicks. Now she's educating her children. Now, her 9 children, now she is also educating her grandchildren, some of whom would have never gone to school. So she's giving eggs to other women. She's also selling her eggs, and they say her eggs are the best. Now, I think with that, I really would like to thank the United Women in Faith for, okay, the last slide, for the work they are doing in the central conferences, and I will leave this time for questions. And I've put the code there, right, the last one. Yes, let's go on to the last one. The last one. Let's go to the very last before the thank you, because I had to put all that together for the sake of time, so that you may have questions. In that case, right at the beginning, you put the QR code, I think. Can you go back to that one? So, yes, thank you so much. Now, I may take any questions, maybe 1 or 2 for the sake of time. Okay, for the chickens, we found an agriculture person who is a specialist in chicken farming. They were trained in 4 sessions, but we knew that it wasn't enough. So we formed what we call a WhatsApp group, so that all the women would communicate and share. If they have challenges, if they have joys, if they have anything, they would share with others to say, oh, you know, now I got my first egg. Oh, it's taking long for my chicken to hatch eggs. And one interesting woman shared, oh, you know, my cock is running after people and biting them. And then they said on the WhatsApp, somebody said, oh, why don't you just burn his beak? So I haven't heard what happened after that. So we do have a WhatsApp group where they communicate about what is happening. As far as organic gardening, they were trained by somebody in their own area. And he or she is in the WhatsApp group as well, and they keep on sharing. Once in a while, like for the organic gardening, I've been back to Zambia to see how they're doing. In Zimbabwe, I've been back. I've followed up the students. For the chicken farming, we trained monitors, because 88 is too many people. Those monitors, they've got standard forms where they check for how many chickens do you still have, how many eggs have they laid, and they get all that information so that we can tell, we know how the program is going. The case study, I said it very quickly. It's about, do I have some 5 minutes? Okay, we have a lady by the name of Anna. She was 62 last year when she was given the chicks. She's a widow. She has 9 children and a grandchild whom she is looking after. She didn't know how she was going to survive, how she was going to take care of all those children, to feed all those mouths. So she said she was fortunate to be chosen to be able to do the chicken farming project. She was given 25 chicks, 11 cocks, and 14 hens. As they grew, I think at 13 weeks, they started laying eggs. And when she found out that she had 11 cocks, she sold some of the cocks. And with that money, she continued to buy feed for the chicks. Now, she is selling her eggs, using some for breakfast. After selling the eggs, she buys school uniforms and sent her children to school because many people come to buy. She's not the only one. This is just an example. Many people come to buy and they say her eggs are some of the best eggs. And she says she praises God because she feels that it's God looking down on her through United Women in Faith, that she participated in that program and that people are liking her eggs and sending customers. She has given other women some eggs, a tray of eggs, which is 30, for them to start their own businesses. So in that case, she feels God is really blessing her because they were encouraged to ensure that they share with others and grow the program. That's the story of Anna. Thank you. Yes.
I was wondering on the gardens, the organic gardening, who owns the land that they plant on?
They own the land. The women, they buy
women
the
own it?
pieces of land. They are not very big pieces of land.
Because when I went to in 1995, when I went to the China, and they were talking about agricultural workers, women agricultural workers. They said that the one I'm thinking of is in Indonesia. They were very good agricultural workers, and sometimes they had to work 22 hours in the field, and then it was hard to take care of their children. But what happened in some of the countries is that transnational corporations swooped in and took over, were given the land that they were working on, and they were forced to only work on the product that was one product that got shipped out of the country. And so I was wondering, that's not the case there?
It's not the case in this program, but we do have farmers who have large pieces of land, who have people who labor in those lands, who do the work for the farmers, and they do get paid, but in most cases, it's not that much money. Now, when women are given either pigs, as you may see on that, when women are given chicks, it's their own. They control that, even though there are that not many. But right now, one time Anna wrote us that she now has 52 eggs a day. 52 eggs a day. She can sell some. She can have some for breakfast. And, she can give other people.
One of the things that you might not know, don't go far, Grace, with United Women in Faith is that we are very fortunate with having regional missionaries because if you've ever been a part of General Conference and delegates, and our information, our resolutions are passed through General Conference. and it was the work that we did in 2016 when we became United Women and United Methodist Women. It was our relationship with our Central Conference regional missionaries that helped us get our votes passed, because there was a statement made that the United Methodist Women no longer supported our sisters in Africa. And so we went to Grace, Finda, Amara, all of them, and said, can you help us gather the United Women in Faith leaders? And we gathered at the Shake Shack, the only restaurant that we could. And we went to them and shared with them, with the help of Martha Knight, who was the treasurer, on all the programs. Just in that 1 year, we provided $4 million for Africa alone that year, so that they could do those educational trainings and programs. So I just wanted to say thank you, Grace, for standing in the trenches and speaking up in support of the work that we do now as United Women in Faith and United Methodist Women in the Central Conference. This is just a little token. We know people are still now wearing different masks and things, so we have given you 3 different ones with grace and thankful and love on it. And on behalf of our St. James unit, there's members here, but also on behalf of the Missouri Annual Conference of United Women in Faith, our president couldn't be here, Pam Church. We just want to express to you that we love you, we are proud of you, and we love to continue to support you. And so thank you for coming our way by way of Kansas City today. And if you could, for those that are online, we've had several women across Missouri and Kansas watching, so thank you so very much. We're going to end the live streaming. You can always go back on the St. James page and check us out. So we thank you so very much, and if you want to give, remember you can always mail a check in to 475 Riverside Drive, New York, New York, and make sure you put in the memo for Grace Musaka. God bless those that are online. For those that are in person, please do not go away. If you guys can please come down so that we can take a picture and we'll be able to share that. Thank you. Thank you, Christy.